Marada Atra.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Hope you're doing okay and having a good week so far. We're only at the beginning of the week, but hopefully it's a good one. I'm going to share a Rashi from Parshas Reeh from the second Aliyah. Second Aliyah speaks, and Parshas Reeh in general speaks a lot about Yerushalayim. Many of the Parshias up till now, Devarim, Va'eschan, and Akev, spoke a lot about Israel, but transitioning to Israel, Parshas Reeh continues that theme. But now we start to get a little bit more specific about Yerushalayim itself. And so as the Parsha tells us that one day, in this period of time, the Jewish people were transitioning into Israel, they could technically bring sacrifices anywhere. There was no centralized form of worship. But eventually, once the Beis HaMikdash would be established, then they would not be allowed to make sacrifices in their backyards, in their towns, in their localities, which is what the Pasuk here says in Yud Gimel. You're not just allowed to offer olos, sacrifices, anywhere you want. So where should you offer them? Eventually, says the Pasuk, Ki'im b'makom asher yivchar Hashem, in the place that God chooses, ba'achad shivatecha, in one of your tribes, sham ta'aleh olosecha, there you should bring your sacrifices. V'sham ta'aseh kol asher anochi mitzaveka. And there you should do everything that I commanded you, meaning you go backwards in the Torah and forwards in the Torah, all of the sacrifices that are mentioned, that's where they should take place. So the total centralization of worship, which becomes the norm after the establishment of that central place in Israel. So there's one thing that's odd about the pasuk, not just not the idea of centralization. That's normal that you see in many psukim, but the makom, and even though the makom is not mentioned, that's also not odd. We know that's the trend of the Torah to not mention specifically the name of Yerushalayim or Har HaBayis, but the makom asher yivchar Hashem, the place that God chooses, that's also not odd. What's odd here is ba'achad shivatecha. It says that the makom asher yivchar Hashem, the place that God will choose for this centralization of worship, will be in one of the tribes. So Rashi says over here, which tribe? Bechalko shel Binyamin, in the tribe of Binyamin. What's strange about that is Lomalahu Omer Mikol Shiftechem. Above, earlier on in this Aliyah, actually in yesterday's Aliyah, let's go back and find it over here. It also talks about the centralization of worship. Very similar to the language of our pasuk. Mikol shiftechem, the place that God chooses from all of your tribes, not me'achad shvatecha, from one of your tribes, but from all of your tribes. Lasum shemosham, to place His name there. L'shichnos yizrushu v'asashama, there you should seek His spirits, you should seek His countenance, you should seek His presence, and come there. Come there in the various times of the year when it's required to come. So here it's mikol shiftechem, and now in our pasuk it's ba'achad shvatecha, in one of your tribes. So what's going on here? There seems to be a contradiction between these two psukim. Haketzad, shekana David es hagoren min aravna hayavusi, must be that when David HaMelech bought this plot of land, which would eventually be Yerushalayim, from Aravna hayavusi, as the story brought down in Sefer Shmuel Bet, the plot of land that David HaMelech purchases over there. It's also brought in Sefer Divrei Hayamim. Over there, Gava Esazav Mikol Hashvatim. David HaMelech collected the money to buy the plot from all the Shvatim, so that the territory of Yerushalayim would actually belong to everyone. Nevertheless, Hagoren Bechalko Shupin Yamin Haya. But it happens to be that the Goren, the threshing floor that he bought in the territory of Aravna, was in the tribal area of Binyamin. So really, according to Rashi, how you solve this stira of the psukim is geographically, if you're wondering where this makom asher yivchar Hashem is, it's specifically in one area, in one shevet, which is the shevet of Binyamin, the tribe of Binyamin. But if you're asking a more broad pasuk of where you should go, where the centralization of worship takes place, it's mikol shiftechem. It's a place that belongs to everyone. That's how Rashi resolves the steer of the psukim. It does belong to everyone, but if you're looking geographically where it's located, it can't be everywhere. It's one specific place. That specific place is in the tribe of Binyamin. That area of the tribe of Binyamin belongs to everybody. That's how David HaMelech set it up. But technically, it's in that area. If you're looking to find it on a map, it's in Achad Shvatecha, in one tribe, to the tribe of Binyamin. Now, all of this is part of a much larger discussion, which Rashi doesn't mention here in the psukim, but of course about the status of Yerushalayim in general and the geographic location of Yerushalayim in specific. So he's touching on both those issues over here, but not spelling it out from a halachic standpoint. He's talking about the history of the place. David HaMelech set it up in a certain way, and it belonged to a certain area. But the Gemara in Yuma, as well as other places, discusses this exact issue. It's a machlokas Tanaim about whether Yerushalayim nechlaka l'shvatim or lo nechlaka l'shvatim. It's very clear in the Gemara that Yerushalayim was located on the boundary between Yehuda and Binyamin, those two tribes. And actually the tribal line, the barrier, the border, so to speak, went right through the middle of the Beis HaMikdash, as extensively described in Maseches Yuma, which parts were in the tribe of Binyamin, which parts were in the tribe of Yehuda, and why they were placed there. But again, the question is not just a geographic one where it was technically located, but whether Yerushalayim and the Mikdash belonged to Binyamin and Yehuda, or it just was located in that area and yet belonged to everybody else. So it's a machlokas tanaim, nechlaka l'shvatim or lo nechlaka. Was it ever, would it ever belong to a specific tribe, or does it belong to the rest of the Jewish people? I think we believe, in the end of the day, halachically speaking, Yerushalayim belongs to everybody. It's a central place that doesn't belong to one tribe or another. It happens to be placed in that area. It's like, Washington, D.C., lahavdil elef alfei havdalos. But it was chosen for its specific location to border different areas. And there was reasons for that, but yet it doesn't belong to Maryland or to Virginia or to any other tribe or any other state. It belongs to the entirety of the nation. It's its own entity. So Yerushalayim, or like the Vatican, lahavdil, it's its own entity within another sphere. So it's chosen to be in that area of Binyamin Yehuda because there are reasons. Historically, there are reasons spiritually why the tribes of Binyamin Yehuda have to have the Beis HaMikdash there, but yet in terms of who it belongs to, it doesn't belong to any one of them. It belongs to the rest of the Jewish people. It's a powerful idea about the nature of Yerushalayim, and it fits very much into the themes that we know from the Torah and Tanakh as well, not just halachically, but historically. The whole idea was that Yerushalayim should be a central place of worship. Centrality means that it belongs to everybody. It's a hub for everybody. It's a magnet for everybody. Shlomo HaMelech worked very, very hard to break down some of the tribal barriers and lines and to create Yerushalayim as a centralized place of unity for the Jewish people, unity for their tefillos, unity for their bodies, unity for the nation. And in fact, that's one of the reasons, part of a very long shir, but the Radak seems to suggest that the reason why Yerushalayim was never able to be part of the central capital of the Jewish people all those years in the land until David HaMelech came along is because David HaMelech was the first king that unified the nation. And only once you had that unity and that centralization was Yerushalayim even a possibility. So Yerushalayim itself symbolizes unity. It's no wonder, therefore, the Gemara concludes, Lo nechlaka l'shvatim, that it wasn't divided between the tribes, it belongs to everybody. And it's no wonder why Rashi here in our pasuk tries to sort out why it says achad shvatecha, when it really doesn't belong to one tribe, it belongs to everybody. And so in that way, I think all the pieces fit sort of nicely together. Have a great day, everybody.